RJ, I don't know who your agent is, but February in Palm Springs as opposed to February in Southern Ontario is a pretty good gig. So was there lobbying
Yep.
involved, or did they, tell us the story, how this comes about?
Well, first of all, good to be with you. Good to be talking to fine people of Saskatchewan again. You're looking at my agent, so yeah, it's me. I don't pay for an agent. I pay myself, even though
That's
the
very
pay isn't that
Saskatchewan of
great,
you. Nice.
Yeah,
I like that.
it is. Yes, yeah. Do look out. But I called a lot of the American Hockey League All-Star games quite a few years ago and made good relationships with a lot of the people who are still there, and they were looking for somebody and contacted me in November, and I said absolutely. And then I found out where it was, as you've talked about, in Palm Springs, where Coachella Valley plays. That's the Seattle Kraken's AHL affiliate. And they've been so good. The hockey works in the desert there. They've been 2 seasons in the league. Both seasons they've won the Western Conference and made it to the Calder Cup championship games. A lot of fun. And the only Coachella Valley Firebird that's going to be there is Cale Fleury, a Regina native. So if you tune in to TSN, he is going to get a great ovation when he's announced, and deservedly so. Former Regina Pat, too.
In doing a little research on this AHL All-Star game, there's 5 players, including you. There's 6 Saskatchewan people involved. See, the best part about no matter anything, anywhere, and you know this, there's always Saskatchewan woven into the story somehow.
Yes.
So here's some of the other Sasky guys that are involved. You've got Ethan Bear, who's playing for the Hershey Bears from Ochapowace. Now, for Ethan Bear, who's played a good amount of games in the NHL, he's having a pretty good season. Do you see him jumping back into the big leagues and using this as a springboard back?
Yeah, likely will. The Washington organization is unbelievable right now. Hershey's the 2-time Calder Cup champions, and of course Washington, top team in the league. They played great in the NHL, so it's a tough roster to crack right now. But you never know what happens with injuries, or they need a defenseman. Ethan Bear is one of those guys who's got to be at the top of the list all the time, and I think he will be back in the NHL. Sometimes the American Hockey League teams let the players take part in the All-Star festivities because it is quite an honor, looks good on a resume, and it also is a good event and honor for the players to take part in. So I wouldn't be surprised down the stretch if he's back in the NHL.
Okay. Derek Pouliot plays for the Syracuse Crunch, originally from Estevan. He's having a good season, and you know
second in defenseman.
Just another. Yeah, he's just another one of those guys when you're like, oh, okay. And it's funny going through these rosters, and not only guys from Saskatchewan, but get people that played like Major Junior, and there were good Western Hockey Leaguers or OHLers, or you saw them on the national teams, and you're like, oh, okay. Because sometimes when they're not in the NHL, you lose track, and then you click on their name, and all of a sudden the stats come up, and you're like, okay. You start to see these guys are dominating at that level, and how long before you see them jump to the big leagues?
Yeah, Maz, that's so true. Even going through these AHL rosters, there's players that I've lost track of, and it's okay, that's where he is. He's been lighting it up. So those are some great stories that we'll be able to tell during the broadcast. The skills competition is on Sunday, and then the game is actually Monday. The 3-on-3. So that'll be high-paced and a lot of fun to call. Derek Pouliot is, when he was with Portland in the Western Hockey League, I called a lot of his games, and I thought he was a surefire lifer in the NHL, and that's how difficult it is to be someone who plays their whole career in the NHL. Derek Pouliot was an unbelievable defenseman in Hockey League, and he's had quite a few games in the NHL as well. But it's tough. You've got to be elite. You've got to be consistent. And for the most part, Derek has. But there's also, you got to be in the right place at the right time. So he's in the Syracuse, which is the Tampa Bay Lightning's organization. And the Lightning are battling for playoff spots. He's another guy that I wouldn't be surprised if he's back in the NHL after this All-Star game or shortly after.
Well, and with Tampa and Julian Brisebois, and they're big believers, much like the Detroit system. You need to play in the American Hockey League to get seasoned before you come up, and everybody earns it. And I think a lot of players probably going through that system kind of know like you're going to have to spend your time there. I did a double take when I read the name Kevin Korchinski because the Kevin Korchinski I knew from Saskatchewan, I believe he was a Warner music rep back in the old days when record companies had music reps, and he'd be the guy that would bring the new CDs to the radio station and drop off the concert ticket. This Kevin Korchinski, who plays for the Rockford Ice Hogs, is originally from Saskatoon, and part of it was a really good Saskatoon contacts team, but it was a wagon, but because of COVID, got shut down, and now he's lighting up the AHL.
Yeah, he's another player, and you talked about players needing seasoning in the American Hockey League. I think that's what Chicago's doing with him. He's not going to be in the American Hockey League for long. There's so many first-year AHL All-Stars, and a lot of times those guys are on the cusp of making the NHL, and those NHL teams, the organization wants them to play in these games and get to know some other great players and make them aware that they're are one of the best in that league, and they're ready to make the next step. So Kevin Korchinski he's going to be fun and see his skills and defenseman with so much talent. So he's another guy that going into the draft, you thought, okay, he's probably gonna skip an AHL stint, but he's there now and he's excelling. So good for him.
Another player, Cam Hebig from the Tucson Roadrunners, also from Saskatoon. Now, Tucson, they were the Phoenix Farm Club, so they're the Utah Farm Club, correct? Am I right in that?
Exactly. Yeah.
It's funny. So it doesn't still work in Phoenix because there's no rink, but it works in Tucson.
Well, yeah, the expenses are probably a little bit the Tucson Roadrunners, but okay, I remember him when he was playing with the Blades in Saskatoon, of course, and just such a hard worker. He earned everything he got, and here he is. He was an injury replacement for the American Hockey League All-Star game, but he's there. He's earned that spot, so he was named fairly early when there was an injury. So again, just another feather in Cameron Hebig's cap. Who some guys don't have to work for everything they get, but you look at the stats of Hebig, he puts up good numbers, but rarely is he a minus. And that's what coaches love. He's a reliable player, good two-way player, and if you can be reliable, you're going to be successful in pro hockey. And right now, that's Cameron Hebig, and this is a great opportunity for him. Again, somebody who's worked, undrafted guy, and got himself into American Hockey League All-Star game, and maybe will be in the NHL.
And finally, you mentioned it off the top, Cale Fleury, former Regina Pat from Regina, Coachella Valley Firebirds. So this is kind of like a homecoming. And I'm assuming there's going to be a lot of moms and dads and maybe family there in the rink. This has got to be, you know what, when you are hosting the game and you're going to get a chance to go out and play, this has got to be a big deal. I don't care what anybody says, but somewhere along the way, you're like, all right, I'm juiced. Maybe you don't say that to the outside world, but it's going to be a good Monday. There may be a few jitters.
Yeah, absolutely. And the American Hockey League puts on a first class. So this is a pro event equivalent to NHL skills and All-Star games. So it's, hey, and you talked about it earlier, it's going to be almost 30 degrees. So friends and family don't mind going to watch in Palm Springs and go to Coachella Valley where the Firebirds play, get a nice little vacation in early February and watch some great hockey. I'm looking forward to catching up with these guys. Cale Fleury, of them, that great Memorial Cup run in 20 for the Pats, just falling to Acadie Bathurst in the Memorial Cup final, but he was so good in that tournament. So got to know a lot of these guys over the years, calling a lot of their games when they were young and being a prospect in junior hockey. So now to see them with families and pros, it'll be great to catch up with a lot of how they're doing and just find out what life has been like for them over the last few years.
Now, are you in Palm Springs yet?
Not yet. No, I'm still in Ontario right now. It's
Okay.
about -4, maybe -10 with the wind chill. It was a cold snap. It was in the -20s with the wind chill. Hey, Saskatchewan guy, that's nothing. People out here complain, -20 wind chill, big deal. I'm out there in a t-shirt, shorts, so I'm all ready for Coachella Valley.
Nice. And the good thing about the Palm Springs airport, it's small. So to get to the rental car counter, it doesn't take all that long. And next thing you know, you zip out and there's an in and out just outside of the airport there, and you're rolling. Maybe you go to the mall or in the casino in Cabazon. I don't know. Maybe, you know what? You do what you do. My wife's brother and his wife, they live in Redlands, which is just down the road from Palm Springs. So we've been there. We're a little jealous.
I was going
it's going to be great. So
I've never been, so I don't mind this tour guide you're giving me right now. So this will be my first trip. You're the expert. So airport, rental car, in and out. What else?
Well, here's the thing. Magically, somehow, some way, every flight out of Palm Springs back to Canada leaves late. I don't know why. The plane's sitting there. I don't know why.
Oh, no.
But, it's a half hour. No. It's 45 minutes. It's an hour.
Okay.
But that's not the worst. And they don't necessarily have the best food situation at the Palm Springs airport. Like, they don't have a great food court. You know how some airports have a great food court? They don't necessarily.
Yes.
They don't necessarily have that. But they do have nice weather, and it should be awesome. Let's switch gears, because you're part, like when it's football season, you've been part of the Tiger-Cats audio network. And last year, one of the most impressive things that I saw, and I'm a bit of a Bo Levi Mitchell fan, I wouldn't have been upset if he would have ended up in Rider Nation wearing green and white when, everybody, the rumors were out there. After Bo Levi got benched last year, and then the injury to Powell, and he went back in to see him take his game to the next level. What was it? I know what it was like on TV. What was that like watching that happen live?
It was, I've always said with sports, it's the original reality TV. You see happy, you see sad, you see mad, you see celebrations. That was showing mental perseverance and stepping their game up. And it's not like it's a young guy who's trying to make a name for himself. Bo Levi Mitchell's going to the Hall of Fame. We all know that with the numbers he's put up. And that had to be an ego bruise to be replaced by Taylor Powell. And then to go back in there and excel, be even better. He made himself better. He listened to what he needed to do to improve, and he did exactly that. And the numbers showed on the field. And for a team that didn't make the playoffs, for him to be the Eastern Conference most outstanding player, that's actually rare. Surprising also this year, he was the only quarterback that was named a team most outstanding player. So that's kind of interesting to see what happened last season. The other thing that Bo did, and it's an intangible, has nothing to do on the field, but it's a locker room thing, are the overalls. When he was wearing the overalls and other guys started wearing them, it turned into a story. It was just a glue thing for the team that they went on a winning streak and put a little scare into the playoffs. There's his leadership too. He was thinking of something that could help the team, bring the group together, lighten the load on everybody, and he ended up with that. And it was a lot of laughs. It worked for a while, but his play on the field was super. I just think it's such a good lesson for everyone. Not everything is roses in life all the time. You get an opportunity, make the best of it, and do your best. And a lot of times good things will happen.
RJ Broadhead is with us on the Western Pizza guest hotline. Western Pizza, if you get Western Pizza Express, it's free delivery with orders over $25. Now, you talked about leadership and handling things the right way. And then in this offseason, you see he restructured his contract. taking like essentially, if we read it from the outside, essentially less money. And I don't know up front, back end, or whatever, but basically helping the team to build a better roster around him. That shows me a guy that wants to play and wants to win.
Absolutely. Bo is, he's not just saying it to the media. He will, if he puts up big numbers, happy with those milestones, but he wants to win. He had a great game. He had 5 touchdowns, tied a career high. And in the post game, when we were talking with him, I mentioned to him, hey, you had the 5 touchdowns. He says, no, I had 6. And we paused for a moment, and he threw a pick 6. So he was joking, having some fun in the post game, and that's his sense of humor. But he's very aware that it wasn't perfect, and he's letting everybody know that, hey, I had 5 touchdown passes, but I'm thinking about that one that I shouldn't have thrown that turned into a pick 6. But it was a light moment. It was coming off a win, so it's easier to joke about those things. But yeah, he does want to win, and Tiger-Cats are overdue. 1999 is a long time ago. That's a generation ago. There's guys on the team who weren't even born the last time the Tiger-Cats won the Grey Cup. So that's the goal going into this year. New general manager, new defensive coordinator, and hey, we'll see what happens. Following Jeremy O'Day is not to do on this show, Maz. And of course, riders are so important to everybody in Saskatchewan and all across Canada. There's so many expats from Saskatchewan that are around and pack the stadium. So I was listening to your interview with him. Great job. But like a lot of teams right now, we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what those teams are going to look like when training camp rolls around in May. So this coming month is going to be pretty interesting to see where some of the free agents end up.
What are the top 2 needs, like position-wise, that in your opinion, the Ticats need to maybe address in the next week or so? Because like you said, the drought is 1999. They need to get off to a good start to put themselves in a position to be in the playoffs. So what are the 2 positions you think that they need?
Okay, so a lot on defense. I would say the secondary has to be better. Jamal Peters is there, and Stavros Katsantonis at safety has been solid. That's an area that definitely needs to be improved. The linebacking core, but I also think receiver. They've had Shamar Bridges stepped up. Tim White had another good season. I think if you asked him, he wouldn't have been happy with some of the drops he had in the season. Stephen Dunbar was good, but I know Scott Milanovich, head coach and offensive coordinator, loves big receivers, and I'm seeing some of the guys they're bringing into camp. I don't know a lot of these guys. You see him at training camp for the first time, but Shamar Bridges was one of those guys that was brought in last year, and he's got size, he's got speed, he's reliable. So I'm interested to see how they improve in that area. I'm also a big James Butler fan, and just a fantastic guy off the field. Team loves him. I really got to know him over the past couple of years, so it was tough to see him go. But at running back, the Tiger-Cats seem to be solid with Greg Bell. He emerged as a guy who could be elite in this year. So I wish James Butler all the best in BC, and we'll see what Bell can do as the starting running back.
Well, I think on the linebacker front, and it's not just Hamilton, I think with any team, a Winton McManus signing instantly changes your defense and makes it a whole lot better. And there's no guarantee that he's re-signing in Toronto. Obviously, we're this close. They're going to go to the tampering window, or is we'll call it Ed Hervey week, because if he's the one that started it all way back when. Now, we've been beating the drum, and we have Darian on the radio every Monday, and Durant said the Riders need a number 1 receiver, a legitimate number 1. And so we're spending Rider Nation money on Geno Lewis all day long. But we're not, who knows if we're going to be in on him, but a lot of teams would like a Geno Lewis. I bet you Montreal would like a Geno Lewis back. If you guys are looking for big possession receivers, look at Calgary. They've got a brand new quarterback. Winning is not acceptable for the Stampeders. They've gone through 2 seasons or 3 seasons now where and you mentioned, I think probably one of the guys that may get incredible money because of his passport and how well he's played is Tyrell Ford. If you can add that kind of Canadian to your defense, what does that do to change your ratio and the player you add?
Yes. Yeah, that's huge with that ratio to in that position to somebody who's a star. So he'll get a lot of attention. Wynton McManus, well, Jamal Peters, a former Argo, he was loved with the Argos. He's loved with the Tiger-Cats, and he has embraced Hamilton as his new home. He's out in the community. He's living in Hamilton. Seeing stuff on social media all the time. How he's working with the community and spending his time to help the needy right now. So he's immersed. I wouldn't be surprised if he's talked to some former teammates and told them how great he's loving life in Hamilton, and maybe he can influence a guy like Wynton McManus. Geno Lewis, I have to touch on that too, is he has been dynamic against the Tiger-Cats. It doesn't matter if you're Montreal or Edmonton, always had big games, and I have to laugh when as a free agent, that would be a double whammy for the Tiger-Cats. Not only do you get a possession receiver, as you mentioned, but you get a guy who's really low over the past few years on your team. You don't have to worry about him anymore. So I'm sure the Tiger-Cats are in on that one too, but it'll be exciting. Next few weeks will be exciting to see where guys end up.
All right. RJ Broadhead, he's going to be calling the American Hockey League All-Star game the skills competition is on Sunday and the game is on Monday. Thanks for doing this. Safe travels. Best of luck. Let's catch up a little further down the road after tampering's over and all the free agents are signed or whatever, and we'll compare notes. It's RJ Broadhead on the all-new SportsCage.